I'll show you something here if I can. It's just me and my 25 acres. But I'm kind of proud of this. I put in a ditch that this is almost the, well, you can, I don't know what you can see on the screen there, but this is not high tech. This is all done by hand with Quikrete. That's about a 25-foot drainage pipe that I got a corrugated plastic pipe, split it in two, poured some Quikrete, stomped the pipe into place, and then yesterday I secured it pretty well. I hope the next time a big truck drives over it, I guess I'll find out how secure it is. But you know, water on this space is one of my biggest problems, that and insects. Water wants to go where it wants to go, and that's the lowest possible place. The Greeks used to say, I remember in Euripides' play Medea, when Medea loses her mind and the chorus is running around saying, Ano potamon hieron korousi pagai. The sources of the sacred fountains are running uphill. That's an ancient Greek way of saying that things are insane. And nature doesn't go insane. That's why, obviously, the chorus was being a little metaphorical. Nature never loses its mind. It has its rules that it lives by. It's people who lose their minds. And I think it's really a sign of our electronic age, perhaps, that we have so many conveniences. We're indoors all the time. We've lost touch with you know, this stuff. And it becomes a real chore just to figure out how to, when you live out here in the boondocks, how to make a drive that will take you to your house without getting rutted and impassable every time there's a hard rain. So that's what I'm fighting against right now. But you know what? I kind of love it because it keeps me in touch with reality. And I think that's a problem. People staying in touch with reality. I want to talk to you a little bit in this video about baseball, but also about baseball and faith, because the subject came up in an earlier video that I did, and I was, after the fact, told that you know, you really shouldn't touch that subject. It's not a good idea to start talking to people about faith. It's easy to get noses out of joint. Why don't you just steer clear of that? And it seems to me that if you actually have faith, nothing is off limits. If you're, that is to say, committed to pursuing the truth, then you should follow it wherever it leads, and you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions and talk about certain subjects in front of certain people. What are you afraid of? You want to push your search for truth off into a closet for a while? How long is a while? How many of those people are around you? When are you actually going to get back to looking for it again? It should be a 24/7 kind of a job. And again, if faith isn't about looking for truth, then why believe? Why even have it? What is it, some kind of alternate reality, some kind of video game that you're playing with yourself? Out here, you find out what's real and you conform to it, or you get washed out. It's just the facts. Life is like that too. And actually faith is like, I think true faith is a confrontation of life as it is, and an acceptance of your limitations, a discovery of those limitations, a growing familiarity with them, an appreciation of the circumstances that they're confronting, and a figuring out of some way that you can, with the limitations you have, get from A to B. How are you going to work in those circumstances when when you're just working with your hands and you don't have power tools? You got a hoe and shovel and not much more. You got to be creative, but it all starts with accepting your limitations, and that would be the baseball hookup here for this discussion. You're not going to be able to do no matter what anyone tells you at your uh, high school graduation ceremony, or it's you cannot be anything you want to be. You can't shoot for the stars and reach them. Ain't gonna happen. You have to learn the limitations of yourself. You have to learn the limits and the resistance points, the hard realities of the things that surround you. And you have to accommodate who you are with what those things are. And then you can work together. You know what? You get to know yourself. You get to learn yourself about yourself quite thoroughly when you do that, when you accept reality. And then that's when you can actually make some progress and maybe become better, stronger, more resourceful, wiser. But you have to start with acceptance and humility. Then you can push back a little bit and start fighting. But you can't make water go uphill. And you can't live in a world where, in your imagination, water's running uphill. Not unless you want to spend your life in a lunatic asylum. That's not reality. I'm an academic, or I was for my professional career, and I was surrounded by people who increasingly in the ivory tower think that they can make reality by an effort of willpower into some kind of Star Trek world. If we would all just pretend that the world is a better place, if we would pretend that nobody is ever going to shoot anybody else, let's collect just melt all of our guns down, and we'll trust that nobody's ever going to hurt anybody else. It won't happen if we all just believe. Now that's a kind of faith, but it's a stupid faith. Honestly, it's not a faith in God. It's not a faith in the real world that was created. It's a faith in some kind of pie-in-the-sky version of human nature that it doesn't describe human nature. In fact, it doesn't really recognize human nature. It refuses to see human nature, and it substitutes a sort of kindergarten, oh, I wish so much sort of approach for reality. And people like this, they screen out so much of the real world and of other real people. They don't admit anything into their life except what confirms their own beliefs. And the rest of it, oh, you said a word that offended me. I'm not listening. I'm not going to talk to you. Oh, you're scaring me. Or I don't want you on my campus because you're saying things that I think they're hateful. They don't conform to my fantastical vision of how the world could be. So they're really making me uncomfortable, and I want you to get away from my safe space. Get away, get away. I'm not looking at you. I'm not listening. No. And does that seem to you like an academic world where people are interested in truth? They're running away from truth.